Chapter 8, Tricks and Treats. Halloween or Halloween or Halloween. I wasn't sure what it was, but I was pretty sure I didn't like it. Especially on Monday night, after Miss Brisbane turned out the lights. That's when those skeletons on the wall took on an eerie glow. The bats hanging from the ceiling began to whirl and twirl, and the smell of that ghastly orange pumpkin face looked more like a wicked smirk. Weird, weird, weird. So I was thrilled when Aldo flicked on the lights. Whoa, it looks like Halloween in here, he exclaimed as he wheeled in his cleaning cart. He strolled over to my cage as usual and bent down so we were face to face. So are you going to wear a costume for Halloween? It's Wednesday, you know. Halloween is when the ghosts and goblins come out to play, he explained. Eek, I squeaked. No, it's not scary. It's just fun. All the kids will wear costumes. Richie's gonna be a werewolf. So what are you going to wear? A fur coat? He laughed at his own joke, then began his cleaning routine, talking to me as he swept and dusted. I started thinking about this costume thing. Miss Mac had a costume party once while I was staying with her. People dressed up like kings and pirates and ghosts. And Miss Mac dressed up like a clown with a sparkly pink wig and a funny face. Nobody wore a fur coat. I thought about this costume thing all night and the next day. When Garth threw a piece of wadded up paper in my cage, I wondered about the costumes. When AJ tripped on his way up to the chalkboard and Gail didn't giggle, I wondered about the costumes. Even when Miss Brisbane called on Saya and she answered her, I wondered about the costumes. And I came up with a plan of my own. On Wednesday, Halloween arrived, but there was no costumes. I was extremely disappointed until Heidi blurted out, Miss Brisbane, when are we going to have the party? Raise your hand, Heidi, the teacher told her. Heidi obediently raised her hand and Miss Brisbane called on her. This time, when Heidi asked her question, Miss Brisbane said, we will have our lessons this morning. After lunch, you may put on your costumes and we'll start the party. I felt happy, and got in a nice nap for the rest of the morning. But I was wide awake after lunch. My classmates returned from the cafeteria, then scurried off to the cloakroom and the bathrooms and returned, but I hardly recognized them in their costumes. Oh, they were wonderful. A dragon, 2 pirates, a princess, a ninja, 2 clowns, a ballerina, a bunny, a cat, thank goodness not a real one, a baseball player, a mad scientist, a skeleton, the Statue of Liberty, an angel, and a devil? The room mothers came to help with the party. They were both dressed as witches. Still, Miss Brisbane was the scariest of them all. She didn't wear a costume, just a button that had the words, "This is my costume," printed on it. She gathered everyone in a circle, pushing all the tables back. Then she announced that the class would be having some treats. But in order to get them, they each had to do a trick, tell a joke, sing a song, or perform a trick for the rest of the class. Oh, I wish someone had told me. I had figured out the costume part, but what about this tricking for treats? Art, the ninja, stood on his head. He stood on his head so long, Miss Brisbane finally had to thank him and tell him it was someone else's turn. Gail, the ballerina, twirled around the room on her toes. Garth, baseball player, told a joke about a witch. Miranda Bunny sang a funny song about your ears hanging low. It was all very entertaining, except for the fact that I was thinking about something else. But Mrs. Brisbane got my full attention when she called on Saya. Saya was dressed as the Statue of Liberty. She wore a flowing dress and had a crown on her head and a big cardboard torch in one hand. She stared down at the floor as she took her place in the center of the circle. What trick will you do for us, Saya? The teacher asked. Saya still stared at the floor. Sing your song, Saya! Sing! I squeaked out as loudly as I could. You can do it, Saya! Sing! Yes, I know all she could hear was sweet, 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 but I did my best. I think Humphrey Humphrey wants to hear from you and hear your voice, said Miss Brisbane in a surprisingly funny and friendly voice. Suddenly, without warning, Saya began to sing the Star-Spangled Banner. In her clear, sweet voice, everyone stood up right away, like you're supposed to when they sing the national anthem. Miss Brisbane put her hand over her heart, and the other kids did too. Well, pay attention, Art didn't until his mom came over and whispered in his ear. I stood up, too, as proud as a hamster could possibly be. When it was over, no one clapped or said a word. It seemed as if those sweet notes were still drifting around the room. That was lovely, Saya. Thank you for sharing your beautiful voice with us, Miss Brisbane said. I wish she'd speak that way to me someday. Nice, encouraging, friendly. Anyway, the tricks continued, and after AJ told a few riddles, Miss Brisbane looked around the circle and said, Did I miss anyone? This was the moment I'd been waiting for. No one had noticed, but the night before, I had sneaked one of all those white dusting cloths into my sleeping hut. I had to act quickly. I pulled out the cloth and crawled under it so it completely covered me. Then I stood up and began to shout like I'd never shouted before. Trick or squeak! I cried, trick or squeak! Miranda noticed first. Look, she yelled, it's Humphrey! I wish I could have seen the faces of my classmates, but it was dark, dark, dark under the cloth. I could hear them though. First there were gasps, then giggles, then shouts of look! And Humphrey's ghost! Humphrey's a ghost! I continued to squeak my heart out until I heard Mrs. Brisbane's firm footsteps coming towards my cage. Who did this? She asked. Who put that on Humphrey? No one answered. Of course, not even me. He could suffocate under that, she said.